Where's Lisa? Is Lisa here? So, okay. Online is Vanessa. Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. Welcome to the Department of International Relations' press briefing, in pre-budget vote press briefing on the budget vote. I am joined by our Deputy Minister, Thandi Moraka, and Deputy Minister Alvin, and of course our Minister Ronald Lamola. Minister Lamola will read the statement, and then I understand there are a lot of journalists who have joined us online, Minister, so we'll be taking some questions online first, and then we'll move to inside the House. Thank you very much. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Crispin, DM Moraka, and DM Borders, all the senior managers who are here, led by the CFO of the department, and also all members of the media who have joined this press engagement. We are engaging you this morning on the year of the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. These are very important platforms of international relations. The Freedom Charter declared peace and friendship for all nations. We continue to implement our foreign policy, which is an extension of our domestic imperatives, with a human rights outlook, with an aim to resolve the triple challenges facing our country: inequality, poverty, and unemployment. Through attracting foreign direct investment, we intend to help South Africa to achieve its 3% economic growth objective. Over the past year, South Africa has signed 12 new bilateral agreements with African nations. We have engaged in over 60 high-level dialogues with our continental partners. We have worked alongside those seeking peace in South Sudan, in Sudan, in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, and in Western Sahara. In the past year, we have firmly opposed unjust and illegal wars. We have stood before the International Court of Justice to call for an end to the suffering of the people in Gaza and the West Bank. We have spoken out against the illegal blockade on Cuba, and we have supported peace in Ukraine, guided not by alliances, but by the enduring values of our Constitution and international law, including the United Nations Charter. We understand that true peace requires shared prosperity. That is why we pursue economic diplomacy, not as a short-term tactic, but as a fundamental tool to transform our nation and our continent, building resilience and a brighter African future. We have anchored our regional progress through the multilateral platform of SADC, our commitment to the Southern African Development Community and the unity remains unwavering. Key achievements demonstrate this. We have celebrated 25 years of SADC transformative conservative areas enabled by the Wildlife Protocol. South Africa actively participated in 6 of the region's 18 TFS-CAs. We collaborate deeply with neighbors, sharing resources to protect our shared natural heritage, biodiversity, and drive socio-economic growth across borders. South Africa welcomes SADC's decision to establish the Mining Ministerial Forum. We stand ready to contribute actively to shaping the region's approach, particularly through the critical minerals concept note, on ensuring that these resources benefit all our people, particularly beneficiation at source, and also manufacturing within the continent. championing women, peace and security. In line with the extended SADC regional strategy, South Africa proudly hosted the landmark launch of the SADC network of women mediators in Johannesburg, January 2025. This pioneering initiative strengthens our region's capacity for inclusive peace and conflict resolution, upholding democratic values, demonstrating steadfast commitments to regional stability. South Africa deployed observers to 5 SADC election observer missions: Madagascar, Mozambique, Botswana, Namibia, and Mauritius. This active support is fundamental to consolidating democracy and good governance through the Southern Africa Development Community. This is our Southern African commitment, partnering for ecological resilience, economic sovereignty through strategic resource management, empowering women as peace architects, and safeguarding the democratic foundations upon which our shared future and prosperity depends. We build together a region of peace, progress, and collective dignity. With regards to Asia, 1.2 trillion in trade in 2024, we actively opened new Southeast Asia markets and deepened partnerships in green energy, minerals, and advanced manufacturing. We seek partnership for mutual growth and a future where African nations trade, innovate, rise as one. Persistent market access wins. Oranges to Vietnam, restored citrus grapes to Thailand, apples back to Thailand, and after 16 years, grapes to the Philippines. The China partnerships has also been elevated. Our all-round cooperative strategic partnership, forged in September 2024, rests on strong political ties and shared goals, balanced trade and inclusive growth. The season's first avocados reaching Shanghai symbolizes our drive to succeed globally. India, deepening dynamism, preparing the next strategic programs of cooperations to shift beyond primary exports, like coal, towards high-growth areas, agro-processing, pharmaceuticals, IT, mining, value-add, renewables, auto defense. Over 130 Indian companies, Tata, Mahindra, and so forth, are also our key partners in our own domestic economy, which have invested in this country. Japan, investment confidence, 141 Japanese manufacturers call South Africa home. Significant investments like Toyota, 4.28 billion rands, Nissan, 3.2 billion, and Isuzu in 2023. Japan opened its market to South Africa avocados, with the first shipment to Japan in August 2024. And coincidentally, I was in Japan when this first shipment arrived. This will enhance South Africa's exporters while offering avenue for growth and hence global trade relations. In mining, metals, and auto signals deep faith in our industrial potentials. With regards to the Gulf region, increased exports, including value-added goods and services. New regional investments support our vital goals, decarbonization, digitization, and boosting high-potential sectors like agro-processing and manufacturing. In Europe and the Americas, enduring our largest export market, about 487 billion rands of 1.8 trillion total exports in 2024. A vital source of investment, tourism, skills, and tech. In collaboration with the Department of Trade and Industry, work is underway to ensure that mutual beneficial trade relationships with the United States is agreed upon. South Africa will work to secure opportunities in a context of rapid withdrawal of favorable arrangements, giving our exports preferential access to the United States of America. This might involve securing additional exemptions and favorable quotas agreements, ensuring our industries maintain critical access to the US market, including through sectoral cooperation. This aligns with the national interest of promoting economic prosperity and safeguarding livelihoods of South Africans. This is our path that we engage the world with a purpose and principle rooted in Ubuntu. We build equitable partnerships, champions Africa solutions, and advance our nation's development with unwavering resolve. Together, we are building a sovereign, prosperous South Africa, contributing to an African renaissance where our continent dawns brightest to all its people who work for it. With regard to multilateralism, as the first African country to preside over the G20, we carry not just a flag, but a mandate to ensure that Africa is not merely present but it's yet. We've placed disaster resilience, debt relief and climate justice at the center of the G20 agenda. We've called for reform of the United Nations, the Bretton Woods institutions and the global financial architecture. I can confirm that I've just returned from Sevilla, where I represented the Republic and the President of South Africa, where the compromise of the Sevilla was adopted, which is called the Commitment of Sevilla, which also commit the world to refocus on achieving the goals of Agenda 2030 of the SDGs and to find the financing gap for the 4 trillion annual needed to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. This is a commitment that South Africa continue to pursue the world to move and to accept. And in this regard, we work with Spain and all member states of the UN to be able to achieve this commitment. And we are thrilled that we are moving towards now the implementation of these commitments that have been agreed in Sevilla. And our G20 will further enhance this work of achieving the SDGs. We also believe that COP30 in Brazil will further enhance this work. So we continue to ensure that South-to-South cooperation, but also North and South cooperation does happen through platforms like the G7, where we recently participated with our president. We have also trained over 1,000 African women in peace mediation. We have capacitated 174 diplomats. We have invested 54.4 million through the African Renaissance Fund to fund support elections, development, and the AFCTA implementation in the continent. Because we believe that the most powerful force in diplomacy is not just diplomacy, it's also its people. Yes, we face challenges. The global order is strained. Resources are limited. But our resolve is not in the months ahead. We will continue to host the G20 summit in Johannesburg. We will deepen our partnership across the global south. Our foreign policy is not abstract. It is rooted in the lives of our people. And it is measured not in the speeches, but in schools built, jobs created, and peace sustained. It is in this regard that we'll continue to participate to find long-lasting peace in the biggest humanitarian disaster in the world. The Sudan, working through the African Union, the Eastern DRC, and in many parts of the continent where we want to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063 of silencing the guns. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that statement. With that, I would then give to Vanessa if there are any questions on your platform.
We do not have any questions yet.
Okay, then we can come to the House. Any questions here? Peter, anybody else?
Yeah, Minister, thank you very much for your briefing. Peter Fabricius, Daily Maverick. I want to ask you, Minister, obviously the G20 presidency is a major foreign policy event for South Africa this year. And the participation or non-participation of the US is still an issue, right? So seems to be some participation in the finance track, no participation in the Sherpa track. And I just want to ask you, how does that impact the effectiveness of the G20 South Africa's presidency and the possibility of actually achieving any implementable kind of conclusions at the summit? And if I may ask another question, when President Zelensky was here a couple of months ago, he gave President Ramaphosa a list of 400 Ukrainian children abducted by Russians in the occupied territories to ask his assistance in returning them. Has there been any progress in that? Have we approached Russia? Where do we stand on that? Thank you.
Okay, we have a question on the online platform, Minister. If Nelson can just read it for us, please.
Yeah. Minister, it's Lindsay Denkliger from Eyewitness News. She's saying some GNU members or partners have complained that there has been no consultation or consensus on the country's foreign policy since the formation of the GNU. Is there an intention to do so, to consult at some point in the future.
I think those are the only two questions for now.
Yeah, thank you very much. As Peter knows, the G20 is a consensus-based organization. In other words, we need the consensus of all the members of the G20. Sorry, did I say GNU? Yeah, G20. Yes, of the G20. We need the consensus of all the members of the G20 for the G20 to adopt a declaration. So it is against this background that we continue to call and to state that the US, as a member country of the G20, has to participate and make a contribution because they are a member country of the G20. Indeed, their participation has been sparingly. In some, they do participate fully, as you have stated, like in the finance track, and in the Shepherd track, not fully, and recently not at all. But they did send us an apology that they've provided why they could not attend. They did send the apology, but we still think it is necessary that they participate, so that as they are a G20 member, it is important that they make contribution towards the outcomes document. Because all the meetings that are currently happening, Shepherd track, finance track, and the various working groups are all working towards a consolidated final declaration. So it will be great that the US participates so that the outcome is embraced by all member countries. So it is against that background that indeed it does impact the work of the G20 because it's an association based. The decisions are based on consensus by all members. So their participation remains very critical and important. Unlike with for example, the Sevilla declaration and commitment, because it's dependent on the member states. Even when there was no consensus after the US had withdrawn from the commitment, it was still adopted. So with the G20, there's a bit of difference. It's a consensus-based organization where all member states will have to make commitments. So it is our view that a multilateral forum like the G20, the US was part of those who founded the G20. It's important that they continue to participate, make inputs, so that the declaration at the end of the day is an outcome that is embraced by all member states of the G20. Yes, indeed, with regards to the list that President Zelensky has handed over, our department and that of state security are handling the matter with the Holy See and other partners like Canada and so forth. We are continuing to play a role in this regard, and you will know that in the past some of those kids were returned to their places, but the work continues. So indeed there is continuous work. With regards to the GNU members that are complaining about that there was no consultation with regards to the foreign policy, I must state that it is not true, because our foreign policy outlook is informed by the Human Rights Outlook that I have already said, the Agenda 2063 of the African Union, the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, the National Interest Document, and also the Foreign Services Act. All these, when you read the statement of intent of the formation of the GNU, that is what it says. It says that the foreign policy outlook will be underpinned by all this that I've already mentioned. So what we are implementing is informed by the Constitution, by the Foreign Services Act, the National Interest Document, the National Development Plan, and all these important policies that are anchoring our foreign policy, which have also been embraced by the GNU partners through the statement of intent. So if there is any GNU partner who wants a review or consultation on the foreign policy, they can initiate the process, and all these processes will have to undergo our normal processes of in cabinet and also in parliament, because the Constitution was adopted by parliament, the Foreign Services Act was adopted by parliament, the National Development Plan was adopted by all South Africans. There was a consultation on the national interest document. So there is nothing that we are implementing which is out of the frolic of our own, of the Minister of International Relations and the two deputy ministers and the officials of the department. We are implementing what is the policy perspective of the South African government. So there is no basis for anyone to complain because we are not out of line. We are implementing what is deeply ingrained as guided by our Constitution and the Foreign Services Act. What we will not do, it's a policy position of a particular member of the GNU who then wants to impose it to the country on the basis that they are in the GNU. And that policy position has not been consulted, has not been agreed upon by South Africans through it being adopted in our parliament. Even at its highest level of dominance, the ANC, when it still had more than 50%, it still took through policies to parliament. And that's why we now have the Foreign Services Act, we have the Constitution, we have the National Interest Document, we have the National Development Plan. All those have been consulted with South Africans, they've gone through processes. So there is no political party just on the basis that they are a member of the GNU that can impose its policies to South Africans. All those policies must, if they want us to implement anything, it must be adopted by the National Executive of South Africa. It must be also have gone through parliament, like all policies of government. And we will gladly implement as loyal South Africans who are bound by the rule of law. We respect the rule of law. We have taken an oath, and we implement what the law says we should do. In fact, it is against the rule of law what the other members of the GNU may want us to do, to implement things that are not in the laws of this country. It's shocking that they will want us to implement what is not in the law, but implement what themselves as political parties want us to do. That is not in the interest of South Africans. All self-respecting South Africans, loyal to the Constitution, who are loyal to the rule of law, will applaud the Department of International Relations, which is implementing what is in the Constitution, what is in the Foreign Services Act, what is in the, which has been adopted. So if anyone wants to change this, South Africa is a democratic country. Let them follow processes. Then when adopted, we will implement. Thank you.
Vanessa, do you have any questions still in your group?
No, we still don't have any questions.
Okay, Peter, this would be the last round, then we will conclude our press conference. Peter, and then followed by Nelson. Thank you.
Minister, I just want to ask a follow-up question to your last answer. I think everyone accepts that there are a whole bunch of documents upon which foreign policy is based. You enumerated them. It's also true in any other department of this government that there are fundamental documents that the policies are based on, the Constitution, etc., etc. But that does not seem to preclude the need for constant consultation, both in other government departments and in DIRCO. I mean, sure, the documents are there, 6 or 7 of them that you mentioned, but surely it's in the interpretation of those documents that the problem arises, and so that there is a need to consult more widely on any serious, or important decisions that are made, without saying simply, oh, well, it's based on the Constitution, it's based on the statement of intent, it's based on the national interest. Of course, one can always use that as a justification, but it's in the concrete detail and the implementation. One would have thought that the consultation must occur. Thank you.
Okay, Minister, there's another question. It's a follow-up from Lindsay Denklinger from Eyewitness News. She says, what is the Minister's view of political parties undertaking trips outside of official government travel to countries such as the US and Israel? Does this help or hinder government's attempts to smooth over tensions?
Do we have another one? Oh, okay. No, thank you. Yeah, no, Peter is right. I mean, there is now no one who has stopped anyone to make inputs on our foreign policy or of consulting. Myself, I've got a standing item in cabinet where I brief on all foreign policy developments in cabinet, where all members of cabinet will be present. We brief them from exactly how I've detailed here on multilateral issues, on our role for peace in the DRC, on our role in Gaza, in the West Bank, on our policies on Africa Agenda 2063, the one of silencing the guns. So we do it consistently. Brief cabinet, and we get feedback on all these issues. And we also engage various think tanks, universities, platforms that are available in the country on our foreign policy. And I also read, Peter, some of the articles that comes from the Daily Maverick from time to time on our foreign policy. And we also engage with the various stakeholders on foreign policy, which we continue to which will obviously continue to help us in the implementation and so forth. So we remain open to engage with anyone on those issues. But what we will not do is that when we have to, for example, to issue a statement, there will be a meeting to discuss the statement by all members of the GNU. When we have to go somewhere, we will have to have a meeting by all members of the GNU and all that. It's not practically possible, but also that becomes micromanagement. It's no longer a policy directive. So that's why our policy perspective is informed by all those documents that I'm referring to, which we operate within the parameters. And in all the international platforms that we go to, we seek a mandate from Cabinet. Cabinet give us a mandate to go and negotiate on any international multilateral platform. And it's not only just the Department of International Relations. All departments, even where we send other government departments, for example, agriculture, they will come seek mandate from Cabinet. We discuss, we allow them to go and engage on the basis of South Africa's foreign policy. The Minister of Environmental Affairs, Mr. George, will also come to Cabinet, seek a mandate. All ministers, when they leave South Africa, they come in, they seek a mandate, they go on the basis of a mandate that has been given to them by Cabinet, on whatever international obligations that they go to. I suspect some of you may not even know that Minister George, in fact, me and him, we are almost outside the country most of the time because of a lot of international obligations and engagements that we have. In fact, we're almost, environmental affairs is almost similar to international relations in terms of the outside engagements that they have. And in all those, he seeks a mandate of cabinet. We engage. So there are parameters within which we operate. And that's why I say we are not on a frolic of our own. We are guided by well-documented principles, codes, and practices of the government of South Africa when we engage on any of our international relations obligations. And if there is anyone who wants consultation, we remain open. Such can be opened, can be engaged. But at this stage, we continue to implement in accordance with what is existing. What is the impact of political parties that are undertaking international trips? The most dangerous ones are the ones who claim to do the international trips on behalf of the GNU and say that they are members of the GNU, therefore they are representing the GNU in those international engagements. Only the government of South Africa can represent the government of South Africa through the Minister of International Relations and other mandated ministers. Political parties have got the right to go internationally and engage with whoever they want to engage with. The DA, the ANC, Freedom Front Plus, they all do it. Anyone, they go outside, engage. There's nothing wrong with them engaging outside. But it becomes wrong when they go there, they distort our policies. We have to clarify and sometimes misrepresent that they are representing the GNU. No one can represent the government of South Africa except the ministers that are mandated. And that's why I explained even how Minister Steenhuisen, Minister George, any other one, they will all be mandated by cabinet, and the president will assign and give them the authority to go and represent South Africa. There will be other instances where I sign the what are those forms called of the UN? Yeah, no, yeah, I forgot. But there are those that we signed for ministers who represent us in some of the UN platforms and the AU platforms. I just forgot the name, but it will come back. So that's how government works, and that's how government functions. So the political parties that go, they do it on their own to represent their own constituencies. And there's nothing wrong with them representing their own constituencies. But when they distort and misrepresent the realities of South Africa, we have an obligation to clarify to the people of the world that no, this is a distortion, it's not what is happening in South Africa, and so forth. So we continue to do that, to provide that clarity, if and when it becomes necessary. But I must hasten to underscore the fact that even if political parties go to represent their own constituencies, their own parties, they still have a duty and an obligation to represent the national interest of our country. It helps no one for them to go and distort issues which they know will harm the national interest of South Africa. All patriotic South Africans, anywhere in the world, have got a duty to represent the national interest of their country. You will never find anyone from many countries across the globe coming here to come and misrepresent their countries. They all come here. If they come from the US, they represent the US with aplomb, irrespective of political affiliation. Those who come from China, they will never come here and represent their country and all. So also South Africans have got a duty, irrespective of political affiliation, when they are outside the country, to represent the national interest of our country. I think I will only underscore it with that, Crispin. I don't know if there's anything, the two DMs they may want to add or say in relation to all those questions before we close.
Thank you, Minister. DMs, anything you may want to add? Consensus. Thank you very much, Deputy Ministers and Minister, for your time, and colleagues who have joined us online and physically. Our budget vote will be exactly at 4:30 at the Good Hope Chamber